You're listening to The Rock and Roll Show on BRFM 95.6 and also online. Tune in every Thursday night from 7 to 10 p.m. for your share of the hottest sounds around with your DJ and host, Rockin Dave.
And we'd like to welcome Larry Geller to the show. Hello, Larry.
Hello, Dave.
How are you
doing? Thanks for asking me to be on.
Oh.
And I'm, one of the deepest passions in my life is to convey and to share stories about Elvis.
Of course.
I mean, he's the greatest star that ever lived.
Yeah,
definitely. And I was so blessed to be with him for so many years.
Yeah.
And so thanks a lot for asking me. I appreciate it.
No problem. I couldn't believe that I actually managed to get hold of you and get you to come on the show. So, this is something I've wanted for a long time. Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. And I've been to England many times over the years.
Yeah.
In fact, last year I did for the BBC Two, I think, a real interesting documentary that was aired last December.
Right.
So I'm here, I'm ready, and I'm, available to answer whatever I can.
Okay. Right. Well, tell us, how did you first meet Elvis?
Oh, it's such a great story and so monumental for me. I grew up, Dave, in Southern California, in West Hollywood, of all places.
Right.
And I remember the day, the first time I ever heard Elvis sing, and I became a major fan immediately, like most other people.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we had rhythm and blues, and Elvis gave us rock and roll. It exploded overnight. And my buddies and I found out that he was coming to Hollywood to give a concert. And Dave, we take these things for granted. Rock shows and rock tours and concerts, they didn't exist back then. And the thought that Elvis was coming to town, so overwhelming to us, we couldn't believe it. All I knew was I had to meet Elvis. So we went to the Pan Pacific Auditorium. It was on a Friday in 1957.
Right.
And all of a sudden we got there and we see thousands of kids our age, teenagers. Never saw this before, ever. First time. They're coming in from all directions, and we were, the electricity in the air, the anticipation that we could see Elvis Presley. Well, my buddies and I did not have tickets. We tried to yank open doors in the back, and we asked people if they had extra tickets. We were naive, and we couldn't get in. And most people were already inside, and we went to the other side of the building, and I pointed my finger, and I said to my friends, I said, look, there's Elvis. And Elvis was standing about 10 yards away with about 3 or 4 of his guys. He's wearing a gold jacket. And I said, come on, you guys, let's go meet him. And when I looked at my friends, they froze. And I saw that they were petrified. And I knew they weren't going to do it. They weren't going to go. I said, well, I'm going. And I ran up to Elvis. And I was still in high school. And I still didn't grow to maximum height. So I was short. And I ran up to Elvis, who was a little bit under, he was around 6 feet. And I looked at him, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I mean, I'm standing in front of Elvis Presley. And I'm looking at that hair and the sideburns and his beautiful eyes and those famous curled lips. And I started to stutter. And he looked at me and he smiled. And he put out his hand. And he said, hi, I'm Elvis Presley. And I started to stutter. And I grabbed his hand. I said, hi, Elvis, I'm Larry Geller. it's so great to meet you. And the minute I said that, Dave, one of his guys said, Elvis, you're on now. They want you. Come on, man. We got to go. Mm-hmm. And Elvis looked at me. He shrugged his shoulders. He said, well, you heard what they said, Larry. Got to go. Talk to you some other time. And he went on stage. Yeah. And I stood there, stunned. Yeah. I couldn't believe what just happened. Yeah. All my friends walk up to me, strangers, people I didn't know. People are shaking my hands. Some girl put her arm around me, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, what is this? And that was my first taste of Elvis Presley in person. Mm-hmm. So about 7-8 months later, I already graduated high school, and I entered college. I only took 2 classes. Mm. And my best friend, Christian, said to me, who's from London, by the way, he said to me, Larry, you're only taking 3-4 units. You're kidding yourself. What do you want to do with your life? Yep. Where are you going? What do you want? And I said, I don't know, Christian. I don't know. You know, my dad was in show business, and he toured, he was a musician, and he toured the country. And I don't know, maybe I should get in show business and be an actor. I don't know. I don't know what to do with my life. Yeah. He said, well, listen, you're very artistic. Mm-hmm. Why don't you think of something you can fall back on? Yep. Why don't you become a hairstylist? Yep. You could always get a job in Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's a very interesting idea. I dropped out of college the next week, became a hairstylist, and another fellow and myself opened in 1959 the very first salon for men in America. Okay. At that time, there was only barbershops. Yep. Never thought of styling their hair. It didn't exist. Yep. And we opened the first salon. We charged a lot of money in those days. Yep. $10 was an enormous amount of money. And we opened our doors, and our clientele, right off the bat, people like Frank Sinatra, Marlon Brando, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, Peter Sellers, Roy Orbison, Glenn Campbell, every star in motion pictures, television, recording, they all came to us. Oh, nice. And it happened so quickly. And it was an amazing experience for me. Yeah, I'll bet. 1964, I was at the salon. Mm-hmm. And now the story gets very, very interesting because my phone rang. Yep. And I answered it. And the voice on the other end said to me, he said, Larry, with a southern accent, he said, Larry, I'm sitting here with Elvis Presley. He's home here in Bel Air. And he wants to know if you'd like to come up to his house to take care of his hair and style it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Yeah. Here I am. I'm doing Roy Orbison and Peter Sellers and Steve McQueen and all these extraordinary movie stars. But Elvis was the celebrity of celebrities. Of course. I mean, he was. And I said to Elvis' name, it was Alan Fortis, who worked for Elvis. Yeah. I said, yeah, I'd love to. So he gave me the directions of where to go to Elvis' house. Yeah. I was so excited, Dave. I packed my bags, and I'll never forget it. I'm running out the salon door, and the receptionist yells at me. She says, Larry, where are you going? I've got Peter Sellers on the phone, and he wants you to come to his house right now. I said, you tell Peter I'll call him later. Man, I didn't care if it was Moses. I'm going to meet El. I'm going to go to Elvis's house, right? Yeah. So I drove up to Elvis's house, and I knew the house immediately because I saw tons of people outside. Mm-hmm. Young, old, every kind of person imaginable. Yeah. There must have been at least 200 people. I drove in. I walk inside. Elvis walks up to me, and he he had that same inner glow.
Yeah.
He just exuded this energy that he was just like compelled to burn.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a smile on his face. He walks up to me, puts his hand out. He said, "Hi, I'm Elvis Presley." And I said, "Hi, Elvis, I'm Larry Keller." I'm having a flashback at this point with him.
Yeah.
I remember that little skinny little kid, "Hi, Elvis," stuttering.
Yeah.
And now I'm standing 6 feet tall. I'm a little bit taller than Elvis.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is unbelievable. How did this ever happen? And then Elvis said to me, "Larry, listen, let's go into my bathroom. You fix my hair, we'll talk." So we go into his bathroom. And the first thing he does puts his head into a basin.
Yeah.
And I quickly put a towel around his neck, and I turn the faucet on, and I put the shampoo in his hair, the water, I'm lathering it up, and I'm being very, very careful. I'm a little nervous, and I'm rinsing the hair, and I'm not even completely done yet. All of a sudden, Elvis picks his head up and starts shaking his head back and forth. Water is splattering on me, on him. He's drenched in water now on his shirt. And he looked at me, and he shrugged his shoulders, and he said to me, "Hey, what the hell? At least the hair is clean, Larry." And when he said that, I knew for sure who he was as a person.
Yeah.
He was so down to earth. By saying that to me, it made me feel so at ease.
Yeah.
Because there are celebrities, as we know, they have such major egos.
Yeah.
Elvis had none of these ego filters. He was just, a regular guy. And at the same time, he was Elvis Presley.
Of course, yes.
So we sat down in front of a long mirror.
Yeah.
And I proceeded to do his hair. And he didn't say a word. And I just kept quiet. And I knew if he wanted to talk, I'd engage. But I had a job to do. I styled his hair. I blew dry it. I sprayed it. And I'm looking at him in the mirror. I'm kind of cupping his hair. And I'm saying to him, "So what do you think, Elvis? You like it?" He said, "Oh, I love it, love it, love it. Beautiful, beautiful." And he turns around in his chair, Dave.
Yeah.
I'm standing right in front of him. He points at me. And he said, "Who are you, Larry? What are you really into? What are you really all about?"
Yeah.
Wow. I just met him.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very forward thing to say to someone when you just meet them.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
And I said, "Well, Elvis," I said, you know what I do for a living. I style hair, and I work at the studio sometimes. I do Peter Sellers and Roy Orbison, and a lot of Henry Fonda and Steve McQueen. I do a lot of celebrity hair. And I know what you're asking me, Elvis. I understand your question. And this is how I make money. But what's more important to me than anything else in life is my search for the purpose of living. Well, why are we here?
Yeah.
Do we really have souls? What happens to us when we die? What's the meaning of all this, Elvis? I said, I read a lot of books, a lot of spiritual and metaphysical books. I'm a vegetarian. I meditate. I pray. And look, Elvis, I know you're the biggest star on planet Earth. It probably sounds corny to you. I started to get very self-conscious saying this to someone because remember, this is April of 1964.
Yeah.
Those were different times. People didn't talk about this.
Yep.
You turn on the television, this is all that people talk about these days. Nutrition and health and spiritual ideas and all that. This was right at the beginning of the explosion of the 60s. The Beatles just came on the scene.
Yeah.
The Vietnam War was just going in full blast. The assassinations of the Kennedys and Martin Luther King and the drugs, the whole explosion of the 60s were just beginning.
Yeah.
And this conversation was very unusual. So that's why I was very nervous telling Elvis that, but I had to.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, really.
No.
I could have just, Elvis had to hear it,
Just
but I wanted to communicate with him.
Yeah.
And when I said this, Elvis said, Larry, you have no idea how I need to hear what you have to say, because what you're talking about is what I secretly think about. And I have no one to talk to about this.
Yeah.
We got into a conversation, Dave, for about 2.5 hours. And Elvis opened up, and we just started to share our lives with one another.
Yeah.
He told me about his stillborn twin brother.
Yeah.
He said, Larry, you have no idea where I came from, man. My mom was spiritual. I was brought up in poverty. Do you know that I was born in a shack that my daddy built, a 2-room shack, and he made it out of wood with his own hands. He said, Larry, I don't take my life for granted. I don't take the fact that I achieved something in life already. I was born into a shack. We didn't have telephones. We didn't have electricity in our house. We didn't have light bulbs. We didn't have running water.
Yep.
We didn't even have a bathroom. You want to go to the bathroom, you go outside to the outhouse. I was brought up in this, Larry.
Yeah.
And my mom was spiritual, and I will never forget. And so we opened up to one another, and he said to me, there's got to be a reason. Why am I Elvis Presley? Yeah. Why did this happen to me? Why did I survive? My twin brother didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I got to a point in the conversation, I realized that people are waiting for me. I said, Elvis, I'm talking to you like this, and this is great. We can do this anytime you like, but I've got to get back to the salon. Peter Solis is waiting for me.
Yep.
He said, Larry, I've got a great idea. Go back, but tell them that you quit, and you work for me full-time. What do you think? I didn't have to think. What's there to think about, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
But I knew what he was asking me.
Yeah.
He was asking me more than, do you want to, become a personal hairstylist? He said to me, I want you to bring me some of those books, Larry. I've got to have them. I've got to read them. So what he was saying to me, he wanted to engage in conversations. He wanted to be mentored. And he wanted someone to take care of his hair.
Yep.
And I didn't take that lightly, both of those things. Because being responsible for the image of Elvis Presley is an enormous responsibility.
Of course it is, yeah.
And more importantly to me, to convey ideas of a person's growth in life. And, as it turned out, I made 11 movies with him, all those movies in the 60s.
Yep.
And the last time I did Elvis's hair, I was at Graceland, and I gave Elvis a book to read.
Yep.
And he passed away reading it. The book, his body was found with the book clutched to his chest.
Yep.
And then his father, Vernon Presley, asked me to go to the funeral home and prepare Elvis's hair.
Yep.
So, a lot of things happened over the years.
I'm sure they did.
And, from when the Beatles came to meet Elvis, and we had many experiences, and Elvis was such an extraordinary guy. He was so beautiful. Yeah. He never took being Elvis Presley for granted. He he would say, I never forgot where I came from.
Yeah.
He said, my mom taught me that. She would tell me, she told me many times, Elvis, never forget what we had to go through. Never forget what it's like when people suffer. You know what it's like to suffer.
Yeah.
And he said, Larry, I never forgot. I wake up every day and it's like my life's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And Elvis he never had that celebrity ego.
No.
And I saw it many times over the years, Dave, with others. Elvis was pure. And this is why, even today, he has more fans than any living celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very
true. This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
We're talking to here past the 1970s, and here it's 2018, and I'm on the phone in America talking to many, many people on your show.
Exactly. Yeah.
And about Elvis Presley.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Elvis, he started it, didn't he? You know, there was no guidelines for Elvis to go by. You know,
no guidelines whatsoever.
Yeah.
In fact, if you don't mind, you get me started, Dave.
Yes, okay.
And I just, I have so much to say.
Yeah.
And seeing as I'm talking to you of all people, because I know you have a great show.
Thank you.
And you have a fantastic reputation, and people really respect you.
Yeah,
and you have a lot of listeners out there.
Yep.
I want to tell you what happened in 1965 in August, because the Beatles, they wanted to meet Elvis more than anyone else.
Yep.
And they tried to several times. And finally, a meeting was arranged in Elvis's Bel Air home. And I'll never forget that night. I'm doing Elvis's hair, and Elvis, all he liked to do was talk and tell jokes and talk. We talked about everything under the sun. And this night, when I'm doing his hair, he was very, very quiet. I knew he was being affected because the Beatles were coming over. And he was very quiet. And all of a sudden, he broke the silence. And he said, man, I know what those guys are going through. I've been there, and I've done it. I love their music, and I respect what they're doing. But to say the truth, Larry, I'm embarrassed to meet these guys. They're coming to meet Elvis Presley. What am I doing with my life? I'm making these stupid, silly, teeny box movies. I should be doing what these guys are doing. I should get back and get on the stage, get in front of a live audience. That's where it's real. That's where it's spontaneous. That's where the energy is. I do these movies over and over, and it's the same movie. All they do is change the character's name and change the set. And they give me this music to sing. And some of it, I just can't take it. Can't take it anymore. He said, there's so much more to me that I have to give, Larry. There's so much more that I have a potential, and I've got to do it. And they keep promising me. Colonel Parker, my manager, and the studios tell me, we're going to find you a great role, Elvis. We'll find you a great role. And they don't do it. And what they're doing is they're packaging me, Larry. Meaning an album comes out with every movie. Everyone's making money, the studios, RCA, Victor, millions of dollars. And he said, look, I'm making money too. But I'm not in this just for the money.
Of course.
I'm an artist. And I got to be true to myself. But I'll go out there tonight and I'll meet these guys. So we did. We went up to the Elvis's den. And all the guys and a couple girls and wives were there. The Beatles came in with their manager, Brian Epstein. And everyone met. And John said to Elvis, Elvis, if it wasn't for you, man, we wouldn't be here. You're the man. You started everything.
Yeah.
We owe everything to you, Elvis. Everything. We appreciate you so much. I can't begin to tell you.
Yeah.
And we had a wonderful night with the Beatles. And later on in the evening, Ringo and George Harrison went in the other room and they played pool. And John and Paul and Elvis and one or two people that worked for Elvis and myself stayed in the den. And John said to Elvis, Elvis, can I pick up one of your guitars? And I said, sure, man, go on. So John picked up a guitar.
Yeah.
And it was a bass guitar, and Paul picked one up. Elvis turned around, picked up his Martin. And the three of these guys jammed for about 20, 30 minutes. I've got to tell you, I'm sitting there watching these guys jam. And they sang a couple of songs together.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, at this moment, I'm at the most extraordinary place in the universe.
Oh, yes.
There's no better place a person could be right now. This is so historical.
Yeah.
And there was no tape. In those days, well, there was a tape recorder in the room.
Yeah.
But it was not on.
Which is such a shame.
And Colonel Parker laid the law down that no photos would be taken.
Oh.
He was a control freak.
Yeah.
He didn't want to lose control. He thought he wouldn't be able to be in charge of everything. So there was no pictures. Whatever happened in that 20, 30 minutes is gone forever.
Which is such a shame.
Except in my memory.
Yeah.
And most of the people aren't there anymore. Paul's here.
Yeah.
And Jerry Stelling is still here, and myself, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was one of the most unique, qualitative moments of my life. I mean, those three men, those three talents, those historical personages playing music together of all things.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, Elvis created his own golden cage because he had all the money and the wealth and everything and the fame.
That's right.
But he just couldn't go anywhere. You know, he was stuck.
No, and he never did.
Yeah.
He didn't. He wanted to go to England and to Europe so badly. And he would say it now in the 70s.
Yeah.
I remember one day we were in Las Vegas, and he was talking to me. Something fishy is going on, Larry. The Beatles went to America, the Rolling Stones, the Yardbirds. I mean, he knew all the groups. Eric Clapton, everyone. And our groups go there. What about me? What about me? And we didn't know it then, but Colonel Parker, well, we knew it wasn't a real colonel. But we didn't know his name wasn't even Tom Parker.
Exactly.
He was an immigrant from Holland who didn't even have a passport and had a shady past, and he couldn't leave the country.
Exactly.
So there was other reasons, and Elvis never really knew it.
No, which is such a shame.
And can I bring up something that you and I were talking about yesterday?
Of course you can, yes.
Okay. Because we had a lovely chat yesterday.
We did, yes.
And you were telling me that someone sent someone you know, an Elvis fan, you might want to mention him, I don't know, it's up to you,
right.
Sent a question to you to ask me about the black people and Elvis' relationship.
Yeah, that was for
his feelings.
Yeah, that was for Craig. You know, he was asking me about, what was Elvis's take on sort of the blacks and the coloureds or whatever.
Right.
And he was saying, he said to me that he'd read that the Ku Klux Klan had actually gone to somebody's house and put, a triple K or something on their lawn, and Elvis paid for it all to be put right. And he said, did you know anything about that?
Did Elvis pay for what now?
Well, the Ku Klux Klan, as it was back then.
Yeah, they burned someone the cross on a lawn.
Yeah.
But what did Elvis supposedly do?
Elvis supposedly put it all right. I mean, had it all paid for it all to be put back how it should be.
Oh, right. Okay, let me tell you something that happened.
Right.
And I think this will really put things in perspective.
Yeah.
I remember one day, in those days, in the 60s, in the 70s, we just toured.
Yeah.
And Elvis, sang in concert because he didn't make movies anymore.
Yeah.
But in the 60s, he made 3 movies a year. And we would go to Southern California, to Hollywood, make a movie, and the moment the movie was over, we'd go back to Memphis and hang out in Memphis for a couple of months, go to the movies at night and enjoy and relax and all that. One afternoon, met Graceland. Elvis and I walked to the office, his father's office, outside, and every day, hundreds and hundreds of letters would pour into Graceland, fan letters.
Yeah.
And one day, we walked into the office, and Elvis picked up his stack. We walked upstairs, and we went to a room right next to his bedroom, upstairs in Graceland, where we hung out every day, where I did his hair every day.
Yeah.
So I'm doing Elvis's hair, and I'm brushing it, and he's reading a couple of fan letters. And all of a sudden, he said, no, this girl's got it all wrong. Larry, listen to this, man. And he starts to read me this letter. And it went like this. Elvis, I love you so much. You are the greatest. And you created rock and roll for all of us. And Elvis said, Larry, no way did I create rock and roll.
Yeah.
Did not happen that way. Let me tell you how it really all came down. All started years and years ago in the deep South, when the slaves were in the field and they were picking cotton or working on whatever they were working on. And these people, man, they had to get up before the sun came up. And they worked in the blistering sun all day long. And those slave masters would beat them, and they would whip them, and they would even kill some of them if they weren't working. And those slave masters were rotten people. They made people suffer. And these black slaves, and of course Elvis didn't say black, he said colored. And that's what, that was the terminology in those days. Those poor colored people, man, they knew what suffering was all about more than anyone. And you know how they got through it? You know how they really made it? They sang. They would sing for hours at a time. They'd be suffering and sweating, but they would be singing from their guts, from the soul. They'd be crying out to God. That's how they got through the day. And they would make up lyrics as they went along. And some of the songs we have today came from that era, from those people, from that experience. And went into their churches. And the white people picked up on it. And then as time went by, some of those songs and those melodies seeped out. And that's how the blues started.
Of course.
In Chicago and St. Louis. That's how honky-tonk started. And it all evolved over the years and into our time, into what we knew is rhythm and blues.
That's it.
And the truth of the matter is, I was in the right place
at the right time,
right time, and introduced their music to a white audience.
Exactly.
That's how rock and roll was born, Larry. That's how it all started, and I owe it all to those people.